August bends the brittle flowers flat against the roadside. Canvas bag and thermos lid, bootlace pulled and knuckles tight. Dust remembers what it did to every passing tire at night. Aspen leaves and restless weather turn their silver backs to noon. Footprints pressed and held together by a fading harvest moon. Firewood stacked in careful crosses, kindling thin as paper bones. Flame begins in patient tosses, breathing through the cones. Daylight thinning into copper, shadows stretching long and lean. All the noise I couldn't proper lay down slips between the green. There's a language in the open, spoken low in wind and flame, where the smallest spark unbroken doesn't need a name. Every mile loose and slowly falls away like settling low. Out where quiet moves so holy, I don't feel alone. Kettle hums a modest rhythm, steam against the cooling air. Crickets stitching up the dim with a steady, patient care. Back against a fallen cedar, watching embers pulse and fade. Night grows taller, deeper, freer in the dark it made. Stars aligning without hurry, cold and clean above the plain. All the thoughts that used to worry drift like distant rain. There's a language in the open, spoken low in wind and flame, where the smallest spark unbroken doesn't need a name. Every mile loose and slowly falls away like settling low. Out where quiet moves so holy, I don't feel alone. Far from signal, far from siren, past the fences and the grain. Breath and earth begin their tying in a soft, unspoken chain. There's a language in the open, carried in the wind's low tone. Out where quiet moves so holy, I don't feel
grain silos shrinking in the mirror, evening bending into gray, headlights drawing closer, clearer, lines along the county way. Windows cracked to let the cold in, air that tastes of iron and rain. Sky unfolding wide and olden, stretching past the last domain. Switchback climbing through the timber, gravel loose beneath the tread. Footsteps slow and growing dimmer, where the deer and fox have led. Canvas pitch beside a clearing, stakes driven into patient ground. Fire struck without endearing, just a spark and then a sound. light receding into copper blue, collecting in the pines. All the hurry, every stopper falls between the thinner lines. Let the hills keep what they're holding, let the dark arrive unplanned. There's a quiet way of folding into something older than. Every ember marks a boundary between the known and what we guess. Out beyond the reach of foundry, hearts can settle into less. Creek stone cold beneath the fingers, water turning black and slow. Lantern glow that barely lingers on the bark and fallen snow. Kettle breathing into starlight, steam dissolving in the air. Night ascending without bar, right wide enough for any care. Frost along the edge of denim, bread the ribbon thin and white. All the thoughts we tried to hem and loosen in the open night. Let the hills keep what they're holding, let the dark arrive unplanned. There's a quiet way of folding into something older than. Every ember marks a boundary between the known and what we guess. Out beyond the reach of foundry, hearts can settle into less. Past the last reflected shoulder, past the map's decisive bend. Sky grows wider, deeper, colder, like a story without end. Let the hills keep what they're holding, let the night lay down its hand. There's a quiet way of folding into something older than.
Gravel dust in the rear view drifting, fading like a breath let out. Telephone poles slowly shifting into silhouettes of doubt. Engine heat and daylight thinning, windows cracked to let it through. Fields of amber softly spinning under skies of washed out glue. Birch bark pale along the hillside, peeling back in paper seams. Footsteps wandering without a guide toward the hush between the streams. Matches strike and briefly shimmer, then surrender to a flame. Smoke ascends in threads that glimmer, never twice the same. Evening settles on the tree line, against the warning skin. All the rush that once was mine, and loses where it might have been. Let the horizon hold the question wide enough for what I don't know. There's a mercy in the distance. where the steady winds still blow. Every spark becomes a signal, every shadow turns to tone. Out beyond the last retrieval, I am quiet as a stone. Lantern light on scattered timber, circles breathing on the ground. Owls calling lower and thinner, more like presence than like sound. Boots beside the riverbank, now mud and water at the seam. The night unfolding without a vow, deep and patient as a dream. Darkness resting on the ridgeline, cool against the warming skin. All the weight that once was mine softens where the stars begin. Let the horizon hold the question, wide enough for what I don't know. There's a mercy in the distance, where the steady winds still blow. Every spark becomes a signal, every shadow turns to tone. Out beyond the last retrieval, I am quiet as a stone. Past the reach of any roadway, past the need to name the view. Breath and earth and sky and slow sway shape the night into something true. Let the horizon hold the question, let it widen, let it roam. Out beyond the last retrieval, I am quiet as a stone. Smoke threading through the cedar, low and blue against the dusk. Gravel cooling by the river, metal tasting faint with rust. Backseat packed with folded blankets, headlights tend to let it be. Skyline wide and unromantic, open as a memory. Tall grass leaning toward the highway, bowed by wind, it never stays. Boot soles finding their own byway through the thistle, silver haze. Pine cones split with quiet cracking, sparks rehearsing how to rise. Dark and slowly, gently stacking, layer after layer of sky. Evening lays its copper on us, soft as dust on worn out jeans. All the hours that once outwon us settle in the in-between. Let the fire burn down easy, let it speak in ash and cold. There's a truth that comes in pieces when the land outgrows control. Every shadow turns to breathing, every breath becomes its own. Out where silence has its meaning in the marrow of the stone. River bending past the clearing, black and glassy in the night. Lantern glow just barely nearing edges of the tree line light. Kettle sighing into still
falling in the cold. Stars arranged without a witness, bright and ancient, uncontrolled. No one calling from the distance, no one naming what we see, just the quiet impersistence, like a slow, unending sea. Let the fire burn down easy, let it speak in ash and coal. There's a truth that comes in pieces when the land outgrows control. Every shadow turns to breathing, every breath becomes its own. Out where silence has its meaning in the marrow of the stone. Past the reach of any signal, past the lines on any chart, night becomes a steady vigil, keeping watch inside the dark. Let the fire burn down easy, let it fade but not be gone. Out where silence has its meaning, we keep listening till dawn.
Pale light spilling through the cottonwoods, river flat as hammered tin, moaning, moving through the undergrowth with a cool and steady grin. Back row bending out of eyesight, fence post fading into haze, engine quiet in the half-light, dust suspended in its wake. Footpath rising toward the ridge line, loose shale shifting under heel, wind rehearsing through the pine line, every sound it wants to steal. Canvas breathing in the clearing, knots pulled tight and simple made, fire struck without endearing, just a spark that learned to stay. Daylight thinning into amber, blue collecting in the seams, all the restless borrowed clamor drifts away like distant streams. Let the horizon take its measure, let it widen, let it roam. There's a quiet kind of treasure in the places left alone. Every ember draws a boundary between the now and what has been. Out beyond the mapped out foundry, we grow small, deep within. Creek stone cold against the palm now, water speaking low and slow, lantern glow along the calm brow, up the dark that starts to grow, kettle humming into starlight, steam unraveling white, sky unfolding layer by night, past the edges of the light. Frost along the cuff of denim, breath like smoke that disappears, all the thoughts we tried to hem and settle softly in the ears. Let the horizon take its measure, let it widen, let it roam. There's a quiet kind of treasure in the places left alone. Every ember draws a boundary between the now and what has been. Out beyond the mapped out foundry, we grow small, deep within. Past the last reflected marker, past the final mile of sign. Night grows deeper, wider, darker, rooted like an older pine. Let the horizon take its measure, let it widen, let it roam. There's a quiet kind of treasure in the places left alone. Every ember draws a boundary between the now and what has been. Out beyond the mapped out foundries we grow small, deep within.
Gray light resting on the gravel, early frost along the wire feels unspooling as I travel past the remnants of a fire. Engine cooling into silence, door half open to the cold. Skyline wide and almost violent in the way it won't be told. Trail cut thin through alder thicket, leaves like copper on the ground. Footsteps fall impatient, rhythm soft enough to barely sound. Canvas breathing in the clearing, knots pulled tight with steady hands. Flame begins without endearing, just a glow that understands. Day dissolving into ember, blue replacing what was gold. All the noise I can't remember finds the earth and lets it hold. Let the far hills blur their borders, let the tree line lose its claim. There's a peace in smaller quarters of the dark without a name. Every ember draws a circle, every spark a fleeting sign. Out beyond the sharpened verbal, I am less and more aligned. Creek runs black beneath the willows, silver threads along its side. Lantern light, a trembling halo where the deeper shadows hide. Kettle humming low and hollow, steam unraveling into night. Stars with nothing left to follow, lean into the widening height. Frost along the cuff of denim, breath like smoke that disappears. All the thoughts I tried to hem in fade beyond these open years. Let the far hills blur their borders, let the tree line lose its claim. There's a peace in smaller quarters of the dark without a name. Every ember draws a circle, every spark a fleeting sign. Out beyond the sharpened verbal, I am less and more aligned. Past the last of flutters, marker past the map's decisive bend. Night grows deeper, wider, darker, like a road without an end. Let the far hills blur their borders, let the quiet intertwine. Out beyond the sharpened verbal, I am less and more aligned. fence wire humming in the wind, flatland stretching pale and thin, dusty hood with daylight pinned like a note beneath the skin, compass trembling on the dash, north unsure but still implied, clouds and slow and silver ash drift the length of countryside. Juniper along the shoulder, bittersweet against the heat, boot print pressing deeper, colder, where the dirt and gravel meet, timber stacked in patient layers, kindling dry as brittle bone, flame begins without our prayers, finding oxygen alone. Twilight tilts the field to amber, soft as rust on weathered tin. All the noise we used to harbor thins and lets the stillness in. There's a widening in the distance like a door without a frame, where the smallest act of listening in outlives any name. Every mile sheds its echo, every thought lays down its load, out beyond the last of let's go on a nameless stretch of road. Riverbank of shale and willow, water dark as tempered glass, lantern glow a floating halo on the tall and bending grass. Crickets keep a steady meter, stars unfasten one by one, night grows deeper, slower, sweeter, long after the sun is done. Breath turns visible and fleeting, silver threads in cooling air, all the hours we've been defeating, satellitely everywhere. There's a widening in the distance like a door without a frame, where the smallest act of listening outlives any name. Every mile sheds its echo, every thought lays down its load, out beyond the last of let's go on a nameless stretch of road. Past the fences and the boundary, past the last electric line, earth becomes its own foundry, forging quiet out of time. There's a widening in the distance, still and honest as it showed, out beyond the last resistance on a nameless stretch of road. Wind shaking the tall white birches, paper bark against the sky, sunlight spilling in small surges through the branches leaning high, gravel turning into clay now, tires humming soft and low, fence lines bending out of the way somehow, where the open fields still go. Resting by the tree line, zippers catching evening air, boot soles dark with loam and pine, breath made visible in prayerless care, kindling snap from fallen timber, risen bright along the seam, flame arriving slow and tender, like a thought you didn't mean, daylight thinning into amber, blue collecting in ancient sound. Stars unpinned from hidden weather fall like frost upon the ground. Hands grow warmer by the fire. Smoke climbs quiet through the trees. All the restless small desire lays itself down with the breeze. Let the distance do the talking, let it say what we don't know. There's a steadiness in walking where the colder rivers flow. Every spark a small reminder, every coal a steady tone. Out where silence grows in kinder than the ruins know. Past the reach of mapped intention, past the lines that highways draw. Night becomes a soft suspension, held in breath and held in awe. Let the distance do the talking, let it rise and let it roam. Out where silence grows in kinder, we are steady as a stone.
Morning frost along the railing, silver on the sleeping ground. Backpack straps and breath are trailing, little ghosts without a sound. Highway thinning into gravel, radio losing every name. Fields unspooling as we travel, sunlight bending just the same.
Crows rise slow above the timber, black against the faded blue. Boot heels wake the roots in ember, hidden where the old fire grew. Canvas pitch beside the clearing, kettle balanced on a stone. Pine sap sweet and sharp and hearing every place I've ever known. Wind moves easy through the branches, nothing here to rearrange. All the hurry the day advances falls away without a change. Let the quiet take its measure, let it circle like a hand. There's a kind of borrowed treasure in the patience of the land. Every step becomes a question, every breath a steady thread. Out beyond the last direction, where the light and shadow spread. Evening leans against the ridge line, amber pooling in the west. Smoke writes letters in a thin line, then erases what it guessed. Tin cup warming near the coals now, sparks rehearsing how to ride. Night unfolding without vows, widened up
nothing here to rearrange. All the noise the day advances fades into a slower range. Let the quiet take its measure, let it circle like a hand. There's a kind of borrowed treasure in the patience of the land. Every step becomes a question, every breath is steady thread, out beyond the last direction, where the light and shadow spread. Stars collect in open weather,
Cold and close and fiercely clear.
all the miles we hold together settle gently out here. Let the quiet take its measure, let it rest where we now stand. There's a kind of borrowed treasure in the patience of the land.
Steam rising off the river in the early autumn chill, sunlight trembling on the silver of a slow and patient spill. Gravel shoulder engine quiet, door left open to the breeze. Fields laid out in simple riot of tall and tawny weeds. Footpath threading through the spruce line, needles soft beneath the tread. Boot heels marking out a loose line where the deer in daylight fled. Canvas leaning into branches, knots pulled firm but unrefined. Fire coax from smaller chances, breathing warm against the pine. Light goes amber then to fading, blue collects along the bark. All the weight of overstating falls away into the dark. Let the valley keep its echo, let the hills refuse a name. There's a comfort in the slow flow of the smoke that leaves the flame. Every ember draws a border between the now and what has gone. Out beyond the need for order, we can rest and carry on. Creek stone cold against the knuckles, water folding into night. Lantern glass and small bright buckles of a flickering fragile light. Kettle murmuring in low tones, steam unraveling thin and white. Stars arranging quiet milestones across the widening night. Frost along the cuff of denim, breath like silver in the seam. All the thoughts we tried to hem in drift away like distant steam. Let the valley keep its echo, let the hills refuse a name. There's a comfort in the slow flow of the smoke that leaves the flame. Every ember draws a border between the now and what has gone. Out beyond the need for order, we can rest and carry on. Oh, past the last reflected marker, past the map's decisive line. Sky grows deeper, wider, darker, rooted like an ancient pine. Let the valley keep its echo, let the quiet stay the same. There's a comfort in the slow flow of the smoke that leaves the flame. Long shadows poured across the meadow, evening leaning on the wire. Wind moves low and careful, slow, through the remnants of a fire. Gravel cooling under tires, radio dissolving to a hum. Fields stretch out like old desires never needed to become. Trail cut thin between the birches, white bark peeling back in sheets. Boot steps soften into lurches where the moss and granite meet. Canvas pitched beside the water, stakes pressed deep in patient ground. Flame climbs up a little harder with a steady breathing sound. Daylight thinning into ember, blue collecting in the leaves. All the noise we can't remember slips away between the trees. Let the clearing keep its silence, let it settle, let it stay. There's a mercy in the wide sense of the night without a name. Every spark becomes a compass, every cold a resting place. Out beyond the need to promise, time moves at a kinder pace. Creek runs dark along the shale bed, silver threads beneath the stars. Lantern light on cedar rail spread thin against the rising dark. Kettle breathing into cold air, steam unspooling soft and white. Sky expanding everywhere, past the edges of the light. Frost along the cuff of denim, breath like smoke that disappears. All the thoughts we tried to hem in fade like distant gears. Let the clearing keep its silence, let it settle, let it stay. There's a mercy in the wide sense of the night without a name. Every spark becomes a compass, every coal a
past with fitted shoulder, past the map's unsteady line. Dark grows deeper, wider, older, rooted like a hidden pine. Let the clearing keep its silence, let it hold what we can't trace. Out beyond the need to promise, time moves at a kinder pace.
Dust light hanging in the rear view, late September, pale and dry. Cornfields rattling like paper underneath a vacant sky. Gas station coffee going colder, map creased thin along a fold, shoulder turning into shoulder of a road that's growing old. Cattails bending by the marshland, footprints soft in river clay, wind erasing every harsh claim I had carried through the day. Firing of stone and gravel, kindling snapped from fallen pine. Flame begins to climb and travel up the dark and careful lines. Evening leaking blue and tender through the branches overhead. All the noise I can't remember lays itself down where I tread. Let the white night have its breathing, let it open, let it stay. There's a grace in not believing, we must hurry it away. Every ember holds a season, every spark a small release. Out where nothing asks for reason, I can finally loosen peace. Creek water sliding over shale now, silver under rising stars. Lantern light along the trails growl, tracing where the shadow are. Kettle murmurs into cooling, steam dissolving into air. Darkness patient, almost scolding, hands to rest in open care. Frost beginning at the edges of the grass and of the sleeve. All the weight in silent pledges drifts like smoke among the leaves. Let the white night have its greeting, let it open, let it stay. There's a grace in not believing, we must hurry it away. Every ember holds a season, every spark a small release. Out where nothing asks for reason, I can finally loosen peace. Past the last electric flicker, past the billboard's borrowed glow. Sky grows deeper, thicker, quicker than the thoughts I used to know. Let the white night have its breathing, let it settle out where nothing asks for reason. I don't need to look away. Fence of posts leaning into open fields of gold. Gravel humming under worn out tires. Morning spilly silver through the cold. Breath rising thin above the wires. Maps folded soft inside the dash. Dust settling slow on every seam. Wind moves lightly through the grass, like it's guarding some unfinished dream. Pine shade gathers where the hillside bends. Boot soles press into resin and stone. The smoke lifts up in crooked threads, carving quiet shapes of its own. Tin cup warming in tearful hands, fire cracking low without a sound. Dusk glaze blue across the land, and the dark comes easy, settling down. Nothing here is asking more, just the hush before the flame, just the weight of earth and floor, and a sky without a name. Let the ash fall where it wants to. Let the night stretch wide and slow. There's a truth in what we don't do, in the embers' steady glow. Every mile we left behind us turns to smoke and drifting light. Out here silence always finds us and holds us through the night. River stones beneath the bridge keep the memory of the rain. Clouds unravel at the ridge and gather up again. Lanterns swinging from a nail, twisting halos on the board. Footsteps fading down the trail, soft as breath inside the dark. Nothing here's asking more, just the hush before the flame, just the ground beneath the floor, and a sky without a name. Let the ash fall where it wants to. Let the night breathe low and bright. Out here silence always finds us and keeps the fire alive. stands too. Let the night breathe low and bright. Out here silence always finds us and keeps the fire alight. Rail ties humming under slow wheels, fields laid out in faded green, sunlight caught on broken windshields, dust between what's heard and seen, fence posts leaning toward the nowhere, crows suspended in the blue, highway thinning into thin air, like a thought you once outgrew. Maples flicker copper golden, paper leaves along the trail, boot steps quiet steady holding by the hush of moss and shale. Timber split along its center, sap still shining at the seam. Flame begins a careful enter into dusk's unguarded dream. Light withdraws in slow subtraction, blue replacing what was bright. All the need for constant action softens at the edge of night. Let the long way be the only. Let it wind and let it roam. There's a mercy in the lonely, where the earth feels most like home. Every ember draws a circle, every spark a tender tone. Out beyond the sharp and verbal, we are weathered into stone. River bending past the clearing, black as ink and twice as still. Lantern glow just barely nearing, branches leaning down the hill. Kettle breathing into starlight, steam dissolving into air. Crickets stitching up the dark night with a patient silver prayer. Cold arrives without a warning, settles in the cuffs and seams. All the noise we wore by morning drifts away in quieter streams. Let the long way be the only. Let it wind and let it roam. There's a mercy in the lonely, where the earth feels most like home. Every ember draws a capture, holding everything inside. Let the long way be the only. Let it lead where we have grown. Out beyond the sharp and lonely, we are weathered into stone.
Wind over wheat in the pale September, feels like waves without a shore. Headlights dim in the late day ember, dust rising from the gravel floor. Fence posts lean in quiet angles, crows hang still in the cooling blue. Road unwinds in patient tangles of something old and almost true.
Trailhead sign with fading letters, nails gone soft with years of rain. Boot steps pressed through fern and heather, loam and root and dark and gray.
Canvas pitch where birch trees gather, knots pulled tight but left to breathe. Fire takes in twig and feather of bark that summer left beneath. Light thins out to copper lining, blue moves in between the leaves. All the small persistent pining slips away on evening sleep. Let the white land keep its distance, let it open without end. There's a quiet, deep persistence in the way the ridges bend. Every ember holds a turning, every spark a steady sign. Out beyond the maps we're learning, we grow smaller, more aligned. Creek runs low along the shale bed, silver threads in shadow cast. Lantern glow on branches overhead, flickers slow and doesn't last. Kettle hums a soft reminder, steam unspools in fragile white. Stars appear one after another, claiming corners of the night. Frost begins along the grasses, breath made visible and thin. All the weight of crowded passes finds the earth and settles in. Let the white land keep its distance, let it open without end. There's a quiet, deep persistence in the way the ridges bend. Every ember holds a turning, every spark a steady sign. Out beyond the maps we're learning, we grow smaller, more aligned. Past the last ridge marker, past the hum of any new line.
deeper, wider, darker, ancient as the rooted pine. Let the wide land keep its distance. Let it breathe and let it blend out beyond the need for instance. We are smaller in the end.
Low tide pulling at the shoreline, kelp and driftwood left behind. Morning breaking thin and fine through a veil of salt and pine. Engine cut beside the dunes, doors left open to the breeze. Clouds like slow and weathered rooms drift above the leaning trees, footpath fading into heather. Sand and gravel under boot, wind and wool and quiet weather. Wrap around the smallest root, driftwood stacked in crooked angles. Paper matching patient hands, flame unravels careful tangles of the cold along the sand. Daylight thinning into silver, edges soft along the foam. All the places we deliver our restless thoughts from home. Let the shoreline keep its distance. Let the horizon blur and bend. There's a kind of quiet persistence where the sky and water blend. Every wave is slow racing, every ember small but bright. Out where earth and air are facing one another in the night.
Seabirds carving wide ellipses, wide against a deepening blue. Lantern glowing brief eclipses of the dark it's shining through. Kettle steaming into starlight, breath made visible and thin. Tidy turning with a soft bite, drawing new lines in the sand again. Wind grows cooler, steadier now, carrying a briny hymn. All the way we can allow falls away along the rim. Let the shoreline keep its distance. Let the horizon blur and bend. There's a kind of quiet persistence where the sky and water blend. Every wave is slow erasing, every ember small but bright. Out where earth and air are facing one another in the night. Past the reach of inland markers, past the last familiar sign. Darkness opens wider, darker, salt and stars in equal line. Let the shoreline keep its distance. Let it fade without demand. Out where sky and water listen and redraw the patient sand. fields of barley half revealed in the corner of the mind. Gravel sighing under rubber, fence posts blurred and passing gray. Clouds that gather, shift and hover, like they've always known the way. Trailhead swallowed by the cedar, moss grown thick along the sign. Bootsteps soften, growing freer with a scent of sap and pine. Canvas strung between two branches, stakes pressed firm in patient ground. Fire sparked in quiet chances, breathing out a steady sound. Daylight thinning into silver, blue replacing what was bright. All the weight we tried to deliver finds its rest inside the night. Let the ridgeline blur its edges, let the valley lose its name. There's a grace in open ledges where the sky outlives the flame. Every ember holds a memory, every spark a soft release. Out beyond the need for remedy, breath and bone can settle peace. Creek runs dark beneath the timber, water folding over stone. Lantern glow, fleeting shimmer on the bark the wind has known. Kettle humming low and hollow, steam unspooling thin and white. Stars with nothing left to follow lean into the widening night. Frost along the cuff of denim, breath like smoke that disappears. All the thoughts we tried to hem in fade beyond the passing years. Let the ridgeline blur its edges, let the valley lose its name. There's a grace in open ledges where the sky outlives the flame. Every ember holds a memory, every spark a soft release. Out beyond the need for remedy, breath and bone can settle shoulder, past the map's uncertain seam. Dark grows deeper, wider, older than the frame of any dream. Let the ridgeline blur its edges, let the quiet stay the same. There's a grace in open ledges where the sky outlives the flame. High beams fading into farmland, evening pooling in the ditches. Telephone lines cross the land like unfinished quiet stitches. Windows down to let the cool in, dust and diesel cut hay fields. Sky unfolding, white and woolen, more than any map can yield. Trailhead sign half worn and splintered, names carved deep and long ago. Footsteps echo soft and wintered through the undergrowth below. Branches arch in slow cathedral, light comes through in broken panes. Firing simple, almost futile, stone and soot and weather stains. Day withdraws without a warning, blue replaces is what was gold. All the weight we carried morning finds the ground and lets it hold. Let the treetops keep their secret, let the ridges blur and sway. There's a peace in something ancient that outlives the need to say. Every ember draws a boundary between the dark and what we know. Out beyond the reach of foundry, hearts can slow and let it go. Creek bends under leaning timber, water black and barely loud. Lantern light, a fragile shimmer, cutting through the cooling shroud. Kettle hums a steady minor, steam dissolves in silver thread. Night grows taller, colder, finer, over where the daylight fled. Frost begins along the grasses, breath turns visible and thin. All the noise of crowded passes falls away and settles in. Let the treetops keep their secret, let the ridges blur and sway. There's a peace in something ancient that outlives the need to say. Every ember draws a boundary between the dark and what we know. Out beyond the reach of foundry, hearts can slow and let it go. Third marker past the highway's borrowed tone. Sky expands and grows much darker, making small the miles we've known. Let the treetops keep their secret, let the night come as it may. There's a peace in something ancient that will still be here at day.
Creek running over granite, clear enough to count the stones. Morning light just barely on it, thin as breath and quiet tones. Tired tracks fading into clover, rust on gates that never close. Fields that roll and then roll over into places no one knows. Wind through spruce and low vibration, needles sifting down like rain. Boot heels finding hesitation in the soft and mossy plain. Firewood split along the grain line, sap still shining in the seam. Flame takes hold in its own time, slow and steady as a dream. Day dissolving into ember, copper pressed against the blue. All the things we can't remember, loosening the open view. Let the ridgeline keep its distance, let it rise and let it fade. There's a comfort in persistence of the shadow that it made.
every spark a small confession, every call a quiet sign. Out beyond the need for mention, time is neither yours nor mine.
Like a map drawn in the dark, kettles singing low and hollow, steam escaping into night. Stars with nothing left to follow hold their unrecorded light. Breath turns silver in the cooling, hands grow warm against the flame. All the edges once so their sharper claim. Let the ridgeline keep its distance, let it rise and let it fade. There's a comfort in persistence of the shadow that it made. Every spark a small confession, every cold a quiet sign. Out beyond the need for mention, time is neither yours nor mine. Past the fence and broken pine, night becomes a patient learning in her voice without design. Let the ridgeline keep its distance, let it hold its quiet line. Out beyond the need for mention, time is neither yours nor mine. Blue hour resting on the hillside, shadows lengthen through the grain. Tires hum a low and steady guide down a thinning ribbon lane. Fence lines tilt toward open pasture, cattle small against the sky. Dust hangs in the cooling after of a sun that won't reply. Trailhead marked by peeling timber, arrow faint but pointing on. Footsteps stirring leaf and cinder where the afternoon has gone. And fallen strands. Light turns amber, then to copper. Blue begins to take its place. All the rush we try to foster slows to nature's patient pace. Let the ridges breathe around us. The dark comes soft and slow. There's a peace the miles have found us in the undertow below. Every ember writes a circle, every spark a fleeting sign. Out beyond the sharp and verbal, we are folded into pine. Creeks don't cool against the palm now. Water speaking low and clear. Lantern glow along the calm brow of the night that gathers here. Kettle singing small and hollow, steam dissolving in the air. Stars with nothing left to follow lean into the open air. Frost begins along the grasses. Breath turns silver in the seam. All the weight of crowded passes drifts away like distant steam. Let the ridges breathe around us. Let the dark come soft and slow. There's a peace the miles have found us in the undertow below. Every ember writes a circle, every spark a fleeting sign. Out beyond the sharp and verbal, we are folded into pine. Past the edge of cell and sign, sky grows deeper, wider, darker, ancient as the rooted line. Let the ridges breathe around